Hi, welcome to the Untitled Astrology New Moon Forecast for October of 2020. The moon is waning, almost new. The energy is depleting, going inward. How are you feeling? On October 16th at 12:31 p.m. Pacific Time, the moon will reach the end of the Amavasya Tithi, conjoin the sun, and begin to wax again. New moons are new starts, new cycles. And this new moon has got a lot of powerful energy to it. It is going to be a very powerful lunar cycle to come. The next 4 weeks or so, we're going to see a lot of action and transformation. This new moon is in the area of the sky called Chitra Nakshatra. Chitra is a star of truth and clarity and opportunity. It's a very auspicious star. New moons are new starts, new cycles. And this new moon has got a lot of powerful energy to it. It is going to be a very powerful lunar cycle to come. The next 4 weeks or so, we're going to see a lot of action and transformation. This new moon is in the area of the sky called Chitra Nakshatra. Chitra is a star of truth and clarity and opportunity. It's a very auspicious star. It's one of the brightest stars in the ecliptic. Actually, it's called Spica. Chitra translates as a shining jewel, something pristine, something beautiful, like a diamond. And like a diamond needs to be made under tremendous amount of heat and pressure. This new moon could feel like, even though you're under a lot of pressure, there's a lot of uncertainty right now, a clarity could be coming through. Especially because this new moon is going to mark the beginning of a very auspicious celebration, a festival in India called Navaratri. The 9 nights of the goddess Durga in all her forms. As Kali, as Saraswati, as Durga herself. This is a very powerful time to be connecting to the healing power of the divine feminine. Durga was the goddess that slayed the Mahishasura, this terrible demon that threatened to destroy the whole universe. So this is a time to face darkness and shadows and do the work necessary to come closer to peace and tranquility and healing in your life and in the community around you as well. One of the most remarkable things about this new moon too is that it is opposed this powerful retrograde Mars. You might have noticed Mars at night. If you go out, he's rising right at sunset because he's opposed the sun as well. So what happens is Mars is sort of at a point where he is like a full moon, getting the most light. He's also closer to the Earth than he's going to be until 2035. So we're not going to get a bright red Mars like this for another 15 years. This Mars is willful, courageous, and combative. So yes, this is a time when there could be more volatility, more conflict, and a sense of fighting for your rights. But it's an excellent time, especially through this Navaratri, the 9 nights, as the moon is waxing, to connect with your sense of courage, your boundaries, maybe clarifying boundaries if you need to around how you're spending your energy, connecting to a sense of self-reliance, an inner resource that protects you, that keeps you safe and keeps you strong. The other thing that happened just today, actually, or yesterday night, Mercury Retrograde began. Yes, we are going to be in a Mercury Retrograde through the rest of the month, through October. And this, of course, everyone knows, can put a little wrench in communications. So this is why especially I feel like it's important not to get into any fruitless kind of conflict or fighting debates online around politics when there's not really any real communication happening is not going to be useful. because Mercury retrograde only makes more confusion usually. What Mercury retrograde's good for, though, is slowing down and taking a look at how you do things, how you communicate, or maybe how you travel or how you work in the world, and see how you can maybe improve systems. So if you're frustrated, Mercury retrograde can give a lot of delays, problems with computers, issues like that. So just remember that it's a time to actually maybe analyze alternative routes and improve what you're doing. It is very interesting to see how this Mercury retrograde is aligning with the United States elections, presidential elections. These final weeks of the elections are kind of the most fiery, intense times. People are already voting by mail early, and Mercury retrograde could complicate matters with the voting system, I'm afraid. Mercury retrograde makes mistakes. It makes sort of missed communications. And this, because already there is a lot of doubt being spread around how we're voting in the United States, we'll see how everything lines up in the end. Mercury is stationing direct the morning of the elections on November 3rd. So when Mercury stations, like he did yesterday and like he will on the 3rd, that means he's stopping the motion, the direction he was going, stopping dead in his tracks, slowing down all that day, and then slowly, like a pendulum, moving forward again on the 3rd. So I know, of course, we are probably not going to know who the president is for a while. We're going to have to let Mercury speed up and get into his natural motion again. It may take several weeks even, it's possible, with this kind of alignment. The last time I was looking through elections, and the last time we had a Mercury station on an election day was November 7th, 2000, and that was the election between Al Gore and George Bush. And there was a lot of trouble counting the votes in certain states. So brace yourselves, we'll see what happens. But even though this feels like a very precarious time in the world, especially we're headed towards eclipse season after this lunar cycle. So there is a lot of transformation. There is so much space for working on your inner realm, especially this Navaratri, this time to connect to the goddess, the power, the protective form of the goddess that is there to destroy demons that create injustice or greed or ignorance in ourselves first and also in the world. So use this waxing moon especially as a time for energizing yourself, like I said, healing and grounding. We really do need to ground in these times too, coming up, because this powerful Mars and Mercury retrograde together can feel a little bit like gasoline on the fire, I think. So, okay, let's just see. Oh, if you'd like to know a little bit more about how these eclipses are going to affect you, and also all the way through 2021, I actually gave a web class just last weekend about this. It was all about Rahu and Ketu, its meaning, especially right now in the elections and over history. And so you can get some perspective on how this energy is affecting the world. And then there's a whole section in the class just on your personal transit of your Vedic sign. And you can calculate your Vedic sign on my website. Now I will leave a link down in the description window if you don't know your Vedic sign, and sign up. You can still actually see this web class. I am offering it for purchase as a pre-recorded web class. So I'll also leave a link for that too. Okay, let's just see what the tarot cards say about the new moon coming up in Chitra Nakshatra. Okay, wow. So The first card that came up is the Priestess. Wow. Divine Feminine, the goddess herself. This is the moon goddess, actually, too. Like Durga. The wisdom and power of protection and divine self-understanding, intuition. The goddess gives us all these things. And you know, maybe for you, identify the goddess as maybe it's just nature. Like the moon is so connected to the natural cycles of life as well. Or an inner witness. The witness that is always kind of watching over us, right? And is unaffected by the mind and its storms. And here we see that Mercury retrograde. I get this card a lot for Mercury retrograde. She's the Princess of Swords. She's, literally having to look back, fight against a lot of maybe confusion or lack of clarity. And she can give a lot of self-doubt too sometimes. A lot of anxiety. And the Prince of Discs. You know, what I said earlier, I think, about being grounded. Grounded in, the earth itself, ground. Staying centered. Finding peace by connecting to a sense of gravity of the earth and the core of the earth and how you connect with it. And nature itself, again, it feels like really coming through, like how we connect to nature, spending time in nature if we can in these last, if you're in the northern hemisphere, we're in late fall now, so it's a time we should try to get outside and really connect with the earth as much as possible too. And how it nurtures us, how we get our resources from it. Be thinking about that as well. Okay, let's take a look. Beyond the anxiety and the fear, the confusion, there is a higher clarity, a protection, an intuition of sorts, a mother that protects the whole earth. You can find her in the worms under the soil, in the grass that's growing, and in the cycles of life and death that we are all a part of here, that nourishes us, feeds us. Stay connected to that, what is true and infinite and clear. You know exactly what you need. Hang on and don't doubt. Nice. I love that the Priestess came through for this Navaratri coming. So thank you for coming to this new moon forecast. I do offer one-on-one Vedic astrology readings, and I offer tarot readings online. You can book a reading with me over Zoom or phone if you're in the US. And check out my web class. It's still for purchase. And do subscribe to this YouTube channel if you haven't already, and get on my newsletter, and I will see you soon on the next full moon.